Hello, welcome back to a new video. We started off with a weird movement, but I can explain what happened there. This is going to be an hour that we are spending together on a Sunday morning, at least for me, commenting this video. But it's different than the one from the days before, because in the days before I was using a new camera, which I'm still using on this one, called the DJI Action Osmo 4, but I had it mounted on the top of my steering bar, not the steering part, but in the front where your headlight is, so it's fixed. But now as an experiment, and we also hear the downsides in the audio at the moment, is not everybody has this ready, and I also wanted to test what happens if you use one of these gloves stands. So what does that mean, a glove stand? It's basically a glove that you put on your hand, and on top of your hand the camera will rest. They are very cheap. They're about, I got one for €9, so about $10. And it's very handy if you're on a bike which is not your own, or if you just want to look around. And I wanted to know how well this worked, and also of course you can use in other situations, and that's what we are going to try in this hour. So you see me kind of also learning and trying to see what works best. So for example, I'm now holding my hand, took it off the steering bar and aimed it to the left to see what would happen. Or I'm slowly twisting it to see if you can change the camera standpoint while I'm still holding the steering bar. I am not, let's say, ultimate stable bicycle person. I'm going quite fast, and I like to have always my hands on the brakes if need be. So I'm also trying to figure out how to quickly grab the brake part, and to see if that works, so I can do it safely, because you don't want to create danger for yourself or for others. So in this case I probably took my hand off the bar and swing it to the left to see how violent or not violent I can do it. And another thing I'm trying to figure out, which you can only do by watching this video after the fact, is where do I hold the camera without getting myself into the picture. So we can see a part of the steering arm coming into the picture sometimes, because I'm still trying to figure that out. And I'm quite impressed so far. The main reason is if you keep your hand on the steering bar, so like I'm doing now, it's actually pretty okay. Now in the beginning we saw something quite violent or in the movement, because I was doing what this woman is doing. I was holding my hand out to put a direction hint. But of course I have the camera on my hand, so that means that you also see quite sharp camera movement. So that's what we saw in the first few seconds of this video. But I kind of am happy with this result, because probably in the next 2 weeks I will be making some videos from not my own bike but a rental bike. And then this seems to be a quite quick way to do it. So you just, so the Action Osmo Action 4 and the 3 also has like a magnetic clip. So you put the glove on, which has the attachment part on the top of your hand, and then you click on the camera on the top of it, and you're done. So that means that if you have a rental bike, for example, without having any extra added danger, you can do this quite safely and quite quickly. Of course, if you can use this on a bicycle, that means you can also use it on a bike, or even on trips. I can totally imagine if you're climbing something, or even if you're walking around, or I don't know, on a ship or something and trying to film nature, that having the camera on the top of your hand and basically using your hand as a camera movement thingy, right? So like almost like Iron Man aiming to stuff. It actually seems to be working quite nicely. Of course, this is a continuous video of an hour. It would be working even better if you just do like small clips, right? So if you have the camera on with the new remote, for example, where it's really easy to click it on and click it off, or even on the camera itself to start it, to stop it. You can also do voice commands. I've never used it, so you can yell to your camera. I can see this totally working for small clips. And you don't have to carry the lens because it's attached to your hand. I'm also typing something, so sorry for that. So you can see if I keep my hand on the steering bar and just sort of rotate it, then I have to be careful because then my other part of the steering arm seems to be getting into the picture. It's also a good experiment if I do these voiceovers, can you actually hear me typing? I just typed a few messages. I'm also slurping my coffee, you let me do it quite on purpose. So we into the Maxima Park, we've been here before. And you can see I'm, of course, since I'm testing, I'm doing it sometimes rather violently or not violently in my hand movements, let's call it that, because that's basically what it is. And I'm also trying to figure out how to level the camera. So the nice thing about this mode, we are now in a stabilization mode called horizon, where it automatically keeps the horizon level, but it does not keep it let's say at the same height in your screen. That would be nice, but they don't do that. Although they could, because it's a 4x3 sensor, so they could move it up and down, but they are not compensating for that. So that means that you have to make sure that you're kind of reasonably having your hand aimed in a flat direction, or whatever angle you have set the camera to. And clearly we can see that in this case you can see my hand popping into the picture, so that's what I mean. I'm still learning. This was basically the first ride that I did with the glove, and yeah, again, I figured this was nice to share. This also for people who are watching this video. In a way, it's an interesting video because this is like the minimal quality that you can get if you just get an Osmo Action 4, which is about $400, and a glove, which is $10. So for $430, $40, this is the quality that you get. Again, we're also learning something here. I was quite impressed with the microphones which are on the front of the camera. If we are going straight, you hear that the noise of the wind noise is quite low. But once I turn the camera to the side, it starts picking up quite a lot of noise. So not sure how they did this, but it's quite impressive. If wind is coming from the front of the camera, it seems to be doing fine. If you sort of do it on an angle, you hear it starting to pick up noise. Now, somewhere next week I will get another new part, which might be very good in working on this. It's an external microphone, and I will be testing it. It will be for sure good if you wanna do interviews or you wanna just do vlogging style recordings. And this case is from Small Rig, and people who watch my videos know that I'm kind of in contact with Small Rig quite often, but this is just something I bought myself, and I bought it from their company because it seemed to be the best solution for it. And you know I have a lot of wireless microphones, but this was about $80, and it's called the Wave 1C, or I think, and you can just clip it into the side of the Osmo Action 4, and I think it's probably the easiest plug and play solution. What's also nice about this microphone, if it does what I think it does, again I can only test in a few days, is that if you use it on a laptop, it also sends the audio back to your headphone output. So why is this important? That means that if you're using Skype or Zoom or Teams, that if you use this microphone, you can clip on the mic on your lapel, so it's a wireless mic of course, but you can also put the headphones into the microphone, and it will, if I'm correct, route the audio from the other people into your ear, if that makes sense. So that means that you can have good audio on your Skype and Zoom calls, even walk away a little bit to get some coffee or whatever, but still hear the people in your headphone and still be audible to them. So I will probably review it on my other channel. So we just heard somebody yelling to the camera. Weirdly enough, I'm assuming he saw the camera or he was just yelling for other reasons. But if people notice the camera, on the hand is of course one is the reason why I like the other setup is for two reasons. A, it's way way safer. It's not like this is dangerous. But your mind is kind of with the recording, if that makes sense. So that always distracts a little bit. On the other setup, where I have it in the front of you, basically near my headlight, you turn it on and you don't think about it anymore. And I kind of like that solution. It also means that it's less visible and nobody kind of notices the camera there. But in this case, I think the boy picked up on my camera and decided he wanted to yell to the camera. But I think the camera movements are doing quite nicely. So in this case, I'm aiming a tiny bit to the side. I don't want to have the kid's face in the picture too much. I don't think that's a good idea. I am not too bothered, to be fair, until somebody starts complaining. Having no kids at all in my videos, I think that's silly. I think at this speed, and if you're being a little bit respectful, I don't think this should be an issue. If you think it's an issue, please tell me. One of the most difficult things about making these videos in a quick way is actually the lighting. The amount of light that we are now getting from the sun is basically making the rest of the image a little bit dark. You can tune that a tiny bit, but if you want to do that for a whole hour, it's a bit it's too much of work. So I'm trying to find a compromise. So that means that I guess it's kind of also like it is in real life, right? If you have the sun in front of you, the rest of the world becomes a little bit more difficult to see. But maybe I will find a better setting for this. Again, I think I'm going to, yeah. So this is, now I knew how it worked. Well, I kind of knew how it worked. Because you see, I'm doing the same thing. I'm putting out my hand to give a direction. So what I will should do in the future, because I think pointing it out was going quite nicely. But pointing it in was too quick. So I should do it really slow. I love this. I mean, this is a mom with her kid, I assume. Yeah. Bicycling. So, and she's warning that she has to be careful for me. So I slow down on purpose. But it's kind of nice that the mom can be running and he is on his bike. That's what I like about biking, right? Yeah, all these different combinations. So in this case, a kid with his mom, both using a different type of moving around, but being together. This was quite funny. I think they was holding a wedding or something. I've never seen that in. So I was trying to aim my arm backwards, but I had to be careful because otherwise I would be driven into to water. So there is no doubt that if you use a solution and you're really trying to aim the camera like I'm doing now, I just think just a random person, and don't think he works for the city, was taking care of some plants, which was interesting. So you're kind of tricked into using your arm as a cameraman, which I think is fine, but you have to be a little bit more careful, of course. I might end up getting, because that's just me, if more people start watching. Compared to my other YouTube channel, there's only like 25 people so far, which is fine. But if I going to extend this video set, I will probably get a second Osmo camera and put that one on my hand just for some shots and not all of the shots. But tell me what you think. Because sometimes it's nice to be able to aim the camera at something else. Here I'm just practicing to see how I should do the arm movement if I want to signal direction. See in the far you see the wedding setup again. It's quite a nice place actually for it. Maybe I should Google if you can rent that place, or they just did it randomly. I guess you have to ask for permission. So we are now getting the weird part about or not weird, I guess that's normal, especially in the Netherlands, that when the cities are growing, so in this case Utrecht, then of course there are farms or farm homes or just little villages in between, and sometimes they take it away. This is quite an interesting art object. It's a way to block the car traffic, and so they put two cars on the road, which it's been there for like 20 years. It's fixed setup. Of course, they're not real cars. They're, I think, copper, I assume, or something. It was a nice, was one of the steepest sort of hill ridges you can take with your bike, which was fun. This is kind of an interesting. There's one kid really far away, and you can see he's waiting for his mom because going way too far ahead. So he's talking to her and then, where are you? Yeah. Ik ben al here. I'm already here. I see lots of people walking with their dogs. Which makes sense, it's the park. Of course, there's... I understand that I'm only showing you bicycle paths in the park. It's quite a big park. Of course, the park has also lots of areas where it makes more sense to be walking with your dog or going for a picnic or whatever. Again, you can see there's quite a lot of cars. I recorded it is on a Saturday morning. So if people think there are no cars around, you can see there's quite a few. But you also can see how they react. And actually, this car was kind of not doing what it's supposed to be doing. So this is kind of an interesting obstacle that we are getting at. This is part of the Roman settlement where Utrecht was founded on. It's old settlement, Roman settlement. And you can see one of the watchtowers that they recreated. And I'm trying to keep that into the picture while going through the bullets. Not doing too badly, but you see I then get my shoulder into the picture. I also see some people standing around. Figured let's aim my arm to them. I figured let's aim the camera down so you can see part of the bike, but also you can see what speed we are going. So we are going about 26 kilometers an hour. So which is kind of my average, or not average speed, but my normal speed. The Bosch e-bikes, the way that this one works is that it kind of stops helping you if you're over 25 kilometers an hour. But I guess for legal reasons, or they want to make sure that they are following the law, I guess. It seems to be about 1.5 kilometers per hour off. So if it says 26 something, it's probably like just below 25. Again, too violent in my movements. So in this case I was testing where to hold my hand so that I don't get into the picture. I think you can see my arm there, right? So I think the best way is to hold one arm with the other arm and then about at the elbow level. Because now I'm more higher and then we see my shoulder getting into the picture. So that's why I was doing this. This is very interesting in a way. You see that they are trying to test here what happens if they turn all the traffic lights off. So they might want to remove them. And to try to test that, you saw that they are putting in extra barriers. And the reason why they put in the extra barriers on the other side, we are now aiming to the wrong side, but we'll see it later in the video again. Or if you go back a little, you see it more. But you can see them again. They are narrowing the road, and the reason why they are doing it is to give the cars the feeling that it's already smaller, so they slow down. And you can see they have put yellow arrows there temporarily because they're changing the way that the crossings are working. And this is all an experiment. What would happen if all these traffic lights are turned off? And this is actually a better way to do it. So I think they are going to do this for like 8 weeks, and then they will remove everything, look at the numbers, and depending on that they will change it or not. I'm hoping that they will take away the traffic lights here because they are kind of, I would almost say, useless. And I think indeed if they make the roads a little bit for the cars a little bit narrower and change the crossings a bit, then it could work. And you can see up ahead they are doing the same thing, right? So they're taking a lane away, so that you have to slow down more to take the corner. You can still go to the right, to the left, but you can see they turned all the traffic lights off. And of course there's also these teeth there on the road, the yellow ones, shark teeth, what do you call them, and so that if in the future they take away the traffic lights for the cars, then also means that they have to stop for the bicycles and pedestrians if they are walking there. And this is what you see all over the city, right? They keep making changes and changes all the time. I talked about it yesterday. I'm trying here the camera to see if I can sort of show you the homes here. I can actually see myself biking. And this works quite well if you're paying attention. I'm paying attention, not you, of course. So yeah, nice if you are still with us and watching. Again, it's more like a technical experiment. But since it was a nice trip, I'll put it online so that I can show other people how to do it, and also to remind myself what I need to do to make this work even better. But I'm quite impressed with the movements, the way that the camera automatically keep the horizon level, and also the way that it kind of balances the movements, if that makes sense. What I mean, I'm probably not as smooth in my arm movements, especially if I put my hand back on the steering column. I want to have my finger below it so that I can really grip the brake if needed. So in this case, for example, here, I probably take my hand off the steering bar. And I'm still trying to figure out how to best do it, so you can see me doing it, I'm guessing. I didn't, I kept it on the steering bar, sorry. But if I take it off, how do I do it without upsetting the camera too much? But it's stabilizing quite well, so I don't think it's too bothersome if you're watching it. Although in this case I keep my hand, oh now I take my hand off, you see? So I'm dipping a little bit down too much, and I'm going again too fast, because when I decided to do it, then of course the light went on green. I'm guessing if you really get experience with this, so I know a few people who kind of use this setup, I think, doing interviews on bikes. Then of course you get a little bit more experience. In this case, on purpose, I'm looking to the right, because there we see the Daphne Schippers Bridge, which is the bridge going over the school. We're going to pass that later on when we are in the second part of the loop. And again, if you're not seen this part before, because you might not watch all these videos, I'm already impressed if you watch one of them, is that on our, again, get in the bike, on the right, we are actually driving on top of a major highway, a 6-lane highway, which is buried below the ground. There's a tunnel, and up ahead, I will aim my camera up ahead to the watchtower, which is the control center for the tunnel, which is a few kilometers. And so what they can't do is build homes on top of it, because if for some reason they have to get to the tunnel, then they want to make sure that they can get to the tunnel in most places. So they put like a greenery there and soccer fields. This barrier that I'm driving on, I assume is done for keeping some of the sound away from the homes in the different places, is my guess. Although the homes are on the wrong side, so it's kind of maybe because otherwise the sound is going to ricochet when all the buildings are done. I'm not sure why that is. But we already see slightly to our left a weird pyramid-like building. I will aim the camera to it pretty soon. And that's in fact so the on top of the highway. I just figured out that the road is indeed below us, but on the other side. Been telling it all wrong for many videos, because this is in the middle of the road, I think. So I will look at the graphics, but the fact that I'm not sure where the road is, because it's below this building. This building is in the middle of the highway. So the highway is now on our left. So I'm assuming in the other side is also on the left. So the other road is on top of the highway. I will check on the drawings. If you've seen my videos before, sorry for lying to you. Because I'm 99% sure that the road is below us, but then on the left side. This also makes sense because these buildings wouldn't be been built on top of it. Oh, I'm going to... Okay. Again, when we are talking about changes, although this looks quite new, they're actually redoing this part also. Or they didn't finish it because we're still building. And you also see one of the old farms that was here. And well, they decided not to sell it, or there was other reasons why they want to leave it there. So it's there. And here I think they're making a walking path and changing the bicycle path over here. You can see there the old home. So like we talked about many times before, they keep changing things in the infrastructure. It's a continuous process. And I think one of the reasons why this can be done in the Netherlands is, I'm not saying there's never any politics involved or politic around this topic, but it's not really one-sided. So basically everybody wants to work on bicycle infrastructure. They might have a different view on what you do in the inner cities, what is allowed for cars, what is not allowed for cars. But in general, I would argue that that is not like a hot point in politics. Of course, since that I can now move the camera, I decided to aim it on the canal. You can see how wide the canal is now. We bicycled past it often in my videos, but now you can sort of see it from a different angle, which normally you can't do if you have it fixed. This is kind of an interesting small car. if you slow down, you can actually see that the guy is eating a hamburger in the small little car. So and they are allowed to be on the bicycle path. This is also interesting. So again, if you pause, you see that is a bicycle side by side, but two steering arms. So I'm wondering how that works. And again, we are now going into the inner city of Utrecht. At least we are going to the central station area. I would not call it the inner city, really. That is the old part, but it's pretty close to the other side of the station. I think I decided to aim it on this building. It had a different name before, but this was always the place where you get your stuff for building in your home, so home improvement shop. And now there are many, but when I was growing up, because I grew up in this area in front of us, this was the only place where you could get your stuff, your nails and wood and tools. And again, this is Saturday in end of September. And yeah, there are quite a few cars, right? It's not like it's a car-free city at all. But you can see there's a different feeling in the city. I think that's probably the best way to say it. And part of it is simply that they reduce the speed. And this is a really busy road. There actually, I talked about it in a few videos back, on this road about, I don't know, 200 meters to our left, they're redoing it. So this is also at some point probably going to be slowed down even further. And again, this is part of the bicycle car, I guess. Yeah, bicycle car and buses main road between the two city centers. So the new city center, which we restarted at, and the old city center. This is kind of the way that they one of the main ways that they want you to move from one to the other. So you also notice that the bus lanes are totally only for the buses and cabs. So cabs can drive on it, and of course police and the fire department and stuff like that can ride on it. I ride this road about 4 times a day. So this day, so yesterday, now Sunday, this day, yesterday I was on this road probably 5 or 6 times. Now it looks like I think it's on this one or on the other video. It looks, no, not on this video. I was going to red, but notice that sometimes the bicycle lights go on green before the walking, so the pedestrian light goes to green. Also notice the crosses area is the idea that you don't stand there because you're blocking the other ones. So in this case they both went at the same time, but they don't always go green on the same time. Again, that's for safety reasons. Sometimes they let things like things like bicycles and pedestrians go first so that the cars can see them before they get the green light. So I'm now aiming to my old parents' home, or it was their new home, but they don't live there anymore. And on the other side, so they at some point moved about 500 meters. This is a new building. They just took out an old garage, which I was in quite often as a kid. And here on your right is the home that I grew up in. So they moved about 500 meters at the end of their life. Yeah, they sadly passed away in the last few years. So I had to sell the house on the right, the newer house. Also, again, maybe that's a Dutch thing. If we have headlights, um, on the newer bikes, there's now a trend that you have a dynamo, so generator in your hub of your bicycle, and you can't really turn it off anymore. The old ones you could turn off, but the new ones you can't turn off anymore. And since you're generating power always when you're biking, also the headlight and the light on the back of your bicycle will always be on. And they are LED lights and they blink because they don't have always enough power. So you can see them sort of flashing towards you. That's what you are seeing. So either it's an e-bike, and then if the lights are on in the daytime, they're on always simply because it's better to leave them on. But if you see a normal old-fashioned bike, but the lights are on in the daytime, I would almost guess that they are these power generators, dynamos inside your wheel axis basically, and then they leave the lights on. So on my normal analog bike or acoustic bike, whatever you want to call it, that has that system. So there's no way that I can even turn off the lights. I'm not a big fan of it because the lights on it is even if you are bicycling at night, it's kind of flashing, sort of strobing, and I'm not a big fan. So you've never seen this one before. Normally we drive past it and you can't really see it, but now you can see the windmill called the Star, which is in the middle of the city. There are a few of them. And this one again was about 400 meters from my old home. And you can see on Saturday people are enjoying themselves. It's not. It's a working windmill, but it's not turning today. So if you're still with us, thank you. It's 45 minutes into this video already. I think it's an hour, so we have 15 minutes left. And you might stop or have stopped this video already because we traveled this part quite often. Although this is the first time that we are actually aiming the camera to different things. So in a way, this is kind of an interesting one, which normally I don't do. I hope that you notice that I'm making more videos now, simply because it's so easy now to make them, which was the reason why I stopped using the Insta360. It was just too much work to do, and this is better quality video in my opinion, but also easier to make. So I think we are going to the left because I wanted to show the and see what happens if you're going to the Daphne Schippers bridge, so the one that's going on top of the school, loop the loop, and then on the bridge. So now I'm pointing back to the area we just came from, just to show you the water, and again trying to see. But I should move slower, but of course I was going over the little bridge hill, so that was again, I'm not the most stable rider, and I didn't want to go to the ground at 25 kilometers an hour. Of course, we don't have any helmets on because, well, we are Dutch. Of course, you wouldn't take a stand of if that's smart or not smart, but you notice very few people with helmets. And going to our left, this might be one of the last sunny or semi-sunny recordings because we are getting into October. In fact, I'm recording this on the 1st of October. And again, another park. This is a good example. The boy was getting ready for a soccer match. He already had his gloves on and stuff. So compared to the weekdays, you see that there are more mix of kids and grown-ups bicycling together. You don't see the groups of school kids moving about because it's Saturday. Again, this changed in the last 2 weeks, and I think the lights are sometimes if we pass this one, the lights are on. Sometimes they're off. I'm not sure what the logic is. Maybe they measure how many people are there. And because this changed, the dad was also instructing the girl that where she should stop. Because they just redone this part. And sometimes all these traffic lights are on, sometimes they are off. I should figure out what it is. Of course, the food delivery bicycles might not follow the rules and they just go and go. It seems that he's actually upset about the car driving there. I've talked about this before. I normally never run a red light. Sometimes there's 1 or 2 places where I think the lights are broken where I do it, but there's like 3 and only 1 of them is still red. But sometimes it looks like I'm going to red simply because, like I talked about before, it's one of them is red and the other ones are green for bicycles. So now we're doing the loop, and I'm trying to use my arm to focus on the school to see if that works in a semi-safe way. Probably not the best recording ever. Now I'm aiming to the other side of the school because normally you don't see that. And this is a dead corner, so you can't really see what's going on. Oh, this is kind of funny. By mistake, I'm aiming to the other side of the... Because you can't really see if somebody's coming around the corner. I always slow down there. And again, going over the canal, which we have seen before. I think I aimed to the yellow bridge. Hopefully I did this. Or maybe not. I just quite barely passed it. But on our right we see the yellow bridge, and on our left we see a white bridge, which we have seen many times in our videos. And again, you see that they are building on both sides of the Daphne Schippers Bridge at the moment. So when it's all done, it will be in the middle of both parts of the city. And we are getting close. Remember when we were talking about that, I was saying that the road was actually on the wrong side, which I will try to correct in my next videos, because that's this road. So we are now driving over the road, I guess. Over the highway. Also here I decide to take a tiny bit of a different route because I don't want to record the same thing every time. So you can see the structure there is actually where the beginning of the road is. So I should have been more precise in my older videos. I guess you can always look on Google Maps and see. There again in the far we see the structure where the beginning of the tunnel is. I think I'm going into the park now. Or not. I'm not sure what I'm going to do actually. We will see. I drive around so much that I forget what I did on each of these rides. Am I going to the right? Yes or no? Am I going to the right? No, I'm going forward. Where am I going? Oh, there's a cat there. I was wondering if I could see it on the video. There was a cat hunting there. But maybe you could see it, but it was quite small. That's one of the downsides of using this camera, because of course it's wide angle. That means that sometimes your eyes think that you can show something, but you're actually too far away to really see it. And this was also quite interesting. Again, we are on the road that they are trying out what happens if we turn off the traffic lights. But on this side of the road, because there are of course cars and people living on this side, they're actually using the cobblestones with the speed bumps. And I don't like this, but it was good to test it because that means that I could see how stable the camera is and what the sound is doing. You hear the sound a little bit more ticking of the bike. But the picture looks okay, I think. But it's definitely not as pleasant to ride on as the other side. Which I guess is also part of slowing the bikes down. And you see that the traffic lights are all turned off and they temporarily change this. And they're limiting movement. I've passed this a few times in the last few days. I'm going to guess that the result will be positive. And that they will take out all the traffic lights. Well, maybe this is me just projecting and hoping that they take out all the traffic lights. Because I don't think they are needed here. And I can't imagine that many other places would do it like this. Just test it for a few weeks and see what happens. I forgot what the cost was, but the cost of a traffic light is actually quite high to maintain it and to make sure that it works correctly. So it's also saving a lot of money if you can design something without traffic lights. So again, look at this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I would guess that this has about 20, 25 traffic lights just in this one area. So if they can take most of them out, I don't think they will take out the pedestrians ones crossing the road, but they might take all the bicycle ones out, so they might reduce, I don't know. Well, if they take the car ones out, then they also have to take the... So they might remove all of them. I'm not sure. Maybe not on all the crossings, but on many. So this one doesn't have any, right? So, and it's actually quite close to a school, so it just shows you that there's no direct relation. There's probably some logic why it's there, but this one they are clearly want to take them out because they turned them all off during this test. And you see the yellow temporary signage. We're almost at the end of our journey together, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to the right at some point back into my own area of town. And then we finish this Osmo Action 4 glove test. Again, using an Osmo Action 4, just default camera in its own cage, which comes with the camera, attached to a glove, which was only about $10. So And this is kind of the results that you can get even on your first run. So if you have practice, you can probably get even better results. I'm not sure what I'm trying to aim at, I guess at the traffic lights. Yeah, I do go around the corner doing the last part of our trip. Showing the bus line. So that's where the buses go. And again, remember in the inner city, we were talking about the buses. This is actually kind of where it goes. It goes quite far. And you can see the whole path between here and the city is a special road for the buses. And going to our left. Sort of trying what happens if I aim my arm on the steering wheel. So basically just turning it. I was also pondering if I could design something that the camera on the front of my bike, if I could turn that. So I have like a wire or something so that I could turn the camera, but maybe that's just too weird. But I was pondering about this when I was riding here. So it should then be on a flexible rotating platform on the near the headlight, and then use some wires or some little motor construction to be able to turn it to the left and to the right, and then with, I don't know, some lever on top of the steering wheel. Will probably never happen, but it would be interesting to ponder. Again, testing where to hold my hand. Clearly, I misjudged it, so if I do it the next time, I kind of know where to hold my hand, not to get my shoulder into the picture. So thank you for watching. This was mostly for myself and learning, but well, since it was a trip and I don't mind, I will put it online anyway. We are learning together. So see you in the next one. I might record another one today, I'm not sure yet. Bye bye. We are still going after credits. I'm pretty sure I stopped it here somewhere. Near the bus stop. So bye again.